Hey everyone, welcome to BrickVault. Today is another LEGO Top 10 MOCs of the Week episode where we show off the coolest custom creations we happen to see people building in LEGO throughout the last week. Like always, there are a ton of amazing creations. A lot of extra links have been left in the video description below. It is or was May the 4th yesterday, so there's going to be a lot of Star Wars stuff, but I did try to do my best to break down the MOCs that came out in the actual top 10, so we're not just looking at one Star Wars ship and or landscape after another. I highly recommend you check out the links in the description below if you want to learn more about the builders featured in this episode. And before we jump into the very first build of the week, the latest creation to come out in our web store is the Dreadnought from Warhammer 40k. Jarek is an absolutely excellent designer. The model is extremely complex on the inside, but very sturdy and incredibly modular. You can switch out the arms for all kinds of different weapons, and the instructions can be found at the web store. That's www.brickvault.toys. Great way to help support the channel, and actually the very first build of the week now is also a Warhammer 40k build. It looks to be made in a similar fashion to how the Star Wars brick built figures are put together. You certainly can see some of the same pieces that were used, like the leg, feet, and or Kama piece that are used as the skirt, but this Terminator here, built by Paddy Bricksplitter, has some very distinct features that are very much Warhammer 40k. I love that he brick built the giant shoulder pads. Buildable figures actually do have their own shoulder pad piece, which are extremely useful, but not for such a distinct shape that needs to be done for a character like this. The assault cannon at the bottom is easily recognizable, and the color combination feels very fitting. There's just the right amount of embroidery on the armor, and I wouldn't mind seeing more iterations of similar guys like this in the future. Number 9 moving down is a Harry Potter build called Serpensortia, and you can see Harry Potter facing off against Malfoy during the dark arts training with Snape. He seems to have already summoned a snake, hence the name of the spell and title of this work. And also just look at the detailing all around. You can even see the minifigure in the painting at the top. I'm not totally sure what the different colored dispensers are supposed to be. It's been a while since I've read the books or even seen the movies, but the build for the table is excellent, and all in all, it's a tip-top vignette. It's been a while since we showed off a classic train build, but that building community is still very, very vibrant. Number 8 moving down is called Little Red Caboose, and it's nice to see that people are still working on and perfecting these timeless shapes. The black cab and windows at the top stick out from the side of the body just by half a stud, and the cut pneumatic tubes, along with a few other nice details, actually make this a pretty expert build, despite the fact that at first glance most people just see what would be considered relatively simple. It's an absolutely excellent little model. I like the wood grain used on the tracks as well, and the presentation feels very complete with those rounded over plates. Mike Sinclair is the builder for this one, and sorry, I forgot to mention with Serpensortia, the designer is Hugo. Flickr links are in the description below, like I said before, and let's move on to number 7. The title is A Lonely Tear of Pain and Hope by Blue Builder. It's not the first time we've seen such an excellent dual set of light and darkness from this designer, and they're always such interesting, unique, and complete looking works of art when you finally get to the final product. This one is very strange. The presentation is quite interesting. The entire battle between light and dark, as I'm seeing it, is encapsulated in a single tier. That in and of itself is a relatively thought-provoking concept, and at the end of the day, just a wholly unique scene between the lightness and the dark. You can actually read the description in this one in particular if you want to know exactly where the builder was coming from when creating this piece. And it's unique builds like these that just don't come around very often, and it's really fun to highlight. Now, number 6 is a funny one, maybe a little bit of dark comedy thrown in there. It's called What It Takes to Build the Biggest Falcon by Ralf, and the description reads 25,700 parts, 350 liters of coffee, and 1 marriage with the estranged wife and kid that are leaving. That's dark. Funny, but definitely dark. From the scale of it, it looks like this guy decided to go well above Fig scale, being at 25,700 parts. But anyways, yeah, joking aside, I like the floor pattern on the bottom with all of the brown tile pieces. You can see schematics and drawings on the board for possible reference material, as well as his building shelves with his bricks against the wall. Some people say that I might take building too seriously, but it looks like this guy's got a much more serious problem on his hands. He doesn't seem to care. Excellent vignette all around. Really good joke. Number 5 is from Djokson. This guy guy's got a ton of interesting characters, and he's managed to this time around make not just a good looking figure as a brick built figure, but also combine it with an awesome speeder build, which I'm also a big fan of. My personal favorite touches of detail here are the use of the Rashik mask, and there's those interesting blue slivers that come out. That's wonderful. The flat silver tubing that connects in and around the underside of the build here at the bottom feels very elegant, and I also just love the build for the front as well. That is one of those odd spinny wheel things. I remember ordering that as an extra piece from a Bricklink order to reach a minimum buy, and I've got them lying around. They're a really fun piece, and I think they make an excellent use of detailing here in the very front. Also, the pilot is expressive as well. I like the inside out tire pieces. Just a bunch of fun build choices included on this one. And then we are hitting number 4. This is called Factions the Can by Darth Bjorn. I feel like a Star Wars cantina scene is one of those inevitable builds that most serious builders eventually tackle if you're doing stuff in the sci-fi world. And this is a really fun, interesting take, because not only do we have an excellent exterior, feels very Blade Runner-y, but also a pretty poppin' club. It's more of like a club, I would say, than a cantina when you go to the inside. Half of what makes these builds so much fun are the interesting, weird characters that you can find with the different combinations of torso and head and skin color pieces and all that stuff. We have some great minifigs in there. And then also jumping back to the exterior really quick, the enhanced photos with the neon signs and lights look absolutely excellent. And I'm also a big fan of that speeder. Reminds me of the speeder bike chases from Shadows of the Empire. Let's move on to the top 3. We're not really going in any top order, but these are the final 3. First up is the DeLorean Micro Mock by Dallen Powell. I find this to be maybe one of the most classic scenes in all of cinematic history, at least in the last 30 years. And it is, of course, from the original Back to the Future movie, just as Marty McFly is driving to hook up with the power line that is getting struck by lightning. So many fun details are included here. The flame pieces are very appropriate. The lightning piece coming down is a nice little touch. I like that the actual logo from the movie is what makes up the exterior border of this whole little micro mock. And somebody please tell me what chrome pieces are used as those overhead lights by the movie theater. I'm not totally sure. I only just discovered this builder recently. He's got a couple of other excellent micro builds, as well as a whole plethora of other Lego stuff. Remember, Flickr links to everybody I talk about is in the description below. Let's move on to number 2. Aaron Newman has come out with a brick-built version of Sauron, the Dark Lord of Mordor. He's used a lot of pieces that can be found on brick-built figures, like the Star Wars buildable figures, but has included a lot of system pieces, and I wouldn't quite say that it's built from the extracurricular Lego pieces, if I guess that's what I'm using now, though. What I do like is that Sauron is actually scaled very well with the one ring to rule them all. That piece was used just because it had to be able to fit into a minifigure's hand, but this is probably how big that ring would be for a character at this size. The torn up cape pieces look amazing. I like the chainmail build going down the front of the groin, and actually just the whole build for the head is amazing. Really fun build here. Awesome effects for the lava. And then this last build, we're moving on to number 1. It is a behemoth of a build. The designer is Amenk Sachio, and technically no title was given for any of these pictures. I'm just calling it Lego Castle. And also in the hashtags there is a lug mention, so I have a feeling this was a collaborative effort. I certainly hope so, because this is a lot of bricks for one person to put together. I don't even know where to begin exactly when taking a look at this model. It looks like about every inch of Lego you see some type of interesting ornate detailing. In general, the total composition I think looks excellent with the sand green mixed with the gray and gold. The castle juxtaposes itself nicely against the dark bluish gray rock build, and even when taking a closer look at the water, you can see a transition between that lighter trans blue and the regular trans blue. So the color gradation as a whole really flows well, and that's super important because, you know, if you've got such a massive model and you've dedicated so much time, effort, energy, and resources to it, you better hope, just in general, that the thing's gonna look good when you finish it. Without a shadow of a doubt, I would say this is an extremely successful castle build. It's also just so unique, and I don't know if this is based on any pre-existing universe or license. I don't care. All I care about really is just looking at these interesting builds and getting lost in this absolutely fantastical fantasy universe that's been created. If you'd like to see other amazing, gigantic Lego creations, I would highly recommend taking a look at this Flickr. And that is going to be it it for the top 10 MOCs of the week. What's flashing by the screen right now and what flashed by in the beginning of the episode are other MOCs that also were built this last week, but we just didn't have time to talk about them. And remember, if you enjoy our content, you can always like or subscribe. Thanks so much for sticking around, everybody, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault. Hey guys, just popping in really quick, letting you know that we do have a Lego web store, www.brickvault.toys, where we sell the instructions, the PDF step-by-step instructions for some very, very high quality MOCs. I highly encourage you guys to go check it out if you want to help support us here at the channel, or the designers that spend their time building some really, really amazing creations. That's www.brickvault.toys. Thanks a lot for hanging out, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.